Hey, Will, welcome. Thank you for coming to Center Stage.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Awesome. It's a very pleasure to have you. So, tell me, where did music first hit for you? How old were you? What's your first real memory of music?
Wow, that's taking me way back. I had an older sister, 5 years older than me, and we grew up on First Road in South Florida, West Palm Beach, Lake Worth area. So I'm not a Minnesota born and bred, but my sister got into music obviously before I did, and she used to come home with tapes of like Motley Crue and Whitesnake and Ozzy and that sort of thing.
So, tapes of metal.
Yeah.
What year would this be? So this is your 5 or 6?
Gosh, yeah, I'd be 5 or 6 years old.
Okay.
And so I would sneak into my sister's room and I would grab her tape deck when I'm laying down to go to sleep, and I would basically be falling asleep to a lot of this kind of like, 80s hair metal type music, So a lot of it was on the harder side.
So your sister actually allowed this?
Yeah.
I would have allowed my sister to take my stereo ever. I mean, but like you, when I was probably 10 or 11, it was Dark Side of the Moon.
Mm-hmm.
I'd go to sleep to that every night. So continue, please.
Yeah, I mean that's really where it started. I think I got heavy into like finding the music that I really like to listen to even that early on. Like many musicians, I had parents, singing in the car, and I listen. My dad loves Elvis, and so I'm a big Elvis fan. And to this day, an old Elvis song could come on, and I'd be surprised that I actually know the lyrics to it. It kind of shocks me. But my mom listened to a lot of like softer rock, 80s stuff. So I mean, I had a lot of kind of just those, in the car ride influences.
So was your mom like into Fleetwood Mac?
Yes.
That kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. And your dad was Elvis, so does that mean there was no Beatles in the house?
No Beatles in the house.
That was a big thing back then. You were Elvis or you were the Beatles? You weren't both.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I didn't
kind
know
of
that.
like modern day, it's Elvis or the Rolling Stones, not the Beatles or the Rolling Stones, not both. But back then it was
interesting.
Oh, I had an older aunt that was big in Elvis, and my mom was big into the Beatles, and they did not get along musically.
Really?
Yeah.
I never knew that there was that split there, or that choice that you had to make. So
well, at least here in Minnesota. I don't know about Florida, but
it must have been, because they're literally. I mean, I even to this day, I'm not a massive Beatles fan because I didn't grow up with the Beatles. They weren't part of my listening or my upbringing or whatever. I just kind of skipped right over that. So even with kind of like 70s rock, I was never heavy into that because my parents didn't listen to that, and my sister started in the 80s. You know what I mean? That's when she was finding her music. So I kind of skipped right into Poison and all those great bands.
I was I'm big on yacht rock now.
Is that right?
I listen to yacht rock all the time. It's like it's Ozzy's Boneyard, it's Hair Nation, and then it's yacht rock.
Okay.
Those are the 3 stations. Liquid metal, I used to really enjoy liquid metal on Sirius, but it turned into more death metal and just black metal and all this other stuff that I wasn't into. I'm a thrash kid.
Yeah.
So if there was not cool lyrics to go along with the really cool music, I didn't dig it. So now it's all Yachtly Crew, which leans back to my mom, who was huge into that. Carole King, Carly Simon, Fleetwood Mac, which is why I asked. So at 5 years old, you're listening to all this 80s rock. When did it become more than a fascination of listening and you wanted to play music?
I always like to tell the story that the first 2 albums that I ever owned that were bought for me, it was one Christmas, maybe 11 years old, and my grandmother asked me what I wanted for Christmas, and I gave her 2 CDs, and it couldn't be more indicative of the split of me finding out who I was going to be. One of them was Crisscross, the hip hop band that used to wear their clothes backwards. Everybody jump, 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 and Alice in Chains' Dirt. So I actually got both of those albums that same Christmas, and I think that was the Christmas or shortly thereafter that I really figured out that kind of like grunge was the direction I wanted to go. And yeah, I still love that album. It's one of my favorite albums that I've ever owned, and Alice in Chains period just writes some amazing music, very very melodic stuff, and the two voices, just kind of working the harmonies.
Yeah, the
and
blend.
Alice in Chains really,
Very good blend.
there's not many bands out there I think that do that better.
So it was that 7, 8-ish?
No, I was probably 11 years old
11
at
years
this
old.
point. Yeah, so I was still in South Florida at the time. I think it might have been one of my last years in South Florida, but I really kind of made that decision, I think, at that point in time. That's the type of music that I wanted to listen to.
Yeah.
Then we moved from South Florida. My dad got a new job offer with the bank that he was working at the time to Jacksonville. When I moved to Jacksonville, I met a group of friends there, lived in the neighborhood, and there's this kid named Kevin Reeves. And Kevin Reeves had the coolest freaking parents of anybody. His dad used to be in the Navy, and they had like this kind of pool room, like hangout room, with albums all the way around the wall. Every Jethro Tull, like every sort of type of music you could possibly think of. And so Kevin's house, and his parents were just like, cool, that's just like blasting music in his bedroom, and we would go out and we'd play pool, and then a friend bought a drum set, and we just bang on the drum set. We would go boxing and punch each other in the backyard. I mean, we could just do anything we wanted to.
Neighborhood hang.
Within reason, obviously we had so much fun and learned so much different types of music, but that was also, like, that group of friends were the first friends that were like, hey, why don't we start a band together?
Okay.
Did
you hang on before you go there? Did you do anything in school musically?
I did, yeah.
Because that's like what I've asked a lot of musicians too. Is most of us remember the first music teacher that really got to us. Like for me, it was Mrs. Hubach at Parkway Elementary, and she just made it connect with me. Because I was into music. Music was my thing, and all of a sudden here was somebody that could teach me about my thing. I played every wind instrument there was, or technically brass instrument. In school, did you do any of that?
I did. I was in band for a couple of years, and so I think at some point during that same time frame, right, when I'm making the transition from South Florida to North Florida, finding Kevin and this group of friends, we're listening to a lot of music. I just started tapping on everything.
Okay.
And I would play to the point that I would annoy the shit out of all my teachers, in class.
Yeah.
And then I think it was 8th grade, I joined the school band, and I got into the percussion department and started to learn how to play drums. It was actually tom. I see everybody starts on the tom first. You move up to snare. Then if you're really good, you get to play the quads. I was never that good.
Okay.
But yeah, so I did that. I actually did it for 2 years in school, and I was maybe 15, 16 years old, which is a tough time in all of our lives, and we're choosing a lot of things, figuring out who we are. I was also playing football at the time. Thought I wanted to be a football player. Thought I wanted to be a drummer. My dad said, "Listen, son, your grades are starting to suck. You need to make a choice here," and so I made a choice, and I quit football. And stuck with it. No, wait, I stayed with football. Sorry. I stayed with football for another couple of years and actually backed away from the drums.
Oh, wow, okay.
And then a couple of years later, I got back into the drums, and I realized I was never going to be a star pro.
Did you truly back away from the drums, though? I mean, granted, you weren't playing them every day in a band, but...
Right, I wasn't in the band anymore in school. I wasn't in a band yet. But it was a couple of years later, actually, when I stopped playing football, that I decided I really wanted to be in a band, and that's when I formed with a group of friends our first band that we ever had called Mcleod.
Mcleod, okay. What year was this, do you think?
94, maybe?
So Jacksonville, Florida, Knucklehead, 94.
Yeah.
Google it.
You will not find a damn
No?
thing. No, we were not. We were not an amazing band. We had one really good player in the band, and it was not me at that point. So our lead guitarist and singer Billy Thompson was just like one of those dudes who could pick up any instrument, and in 13 days he would be better than the person who picked up the instrument.
Sounds
from.
like Tony Williams.
Yes,
Billy
like
Thompson,
TW,
Tony
exactly.
Williams,
Yeah. So I've been 100% drums. Never really learned how to play anything else. I do have a goal that I'm setting this year, though, and you're going to hear first on Stunner's stage. I actually want to sing at one of the jams, which I am not a singer. I want to play keys, I want to play bass, and I want to play guitar.
Oh my!
I'm not going to try to pick anything hard.
What do they call that? You're going to run the gambit or whatever?
Something like that, yeah.
Tony Williams, I had a talk with him, and I'll throw this out and I'm sure he'll hear it. I said, why haven't you? You do them all. He goes, because it would just be for me. Everyone knows I can, but it would just be for me. I don't know if I want to do that. I'm up there enough, he says. I'm up there every dang song the way it is.
Well, he's been going to the Shaw's Jam recently. He was
Okay.
there. He was there on Thursday, and he played guitar. He sang. He
Maybe
played
he'll run it
drums.
there.
Yeah.
Maybe he'll
So I
run
think
it
he's
there.
basically. I think with the Ziggy's Jam specifically, they do a very good job of saying, "Hey, if somebody wants to sing this, I'm going to step out of the way and let them do it."
Yeah.
You know, so they're not going to take the fame away from the jammer.
Right.
But when he goes to the jam at Shaw's, he's not part of the crew, right? So he can get up there and do anything he wants. They played Opeth. They played some really challenging tunes on Thursday. It was pretty impressive.
I should have been there for that.
Yeah.
Was it Window Pane?
I don't remember this song actually.
So-
I'm not a huge Opeth fan. but-
Tony and I were in a band called Nopathy, and some of the songs we would always play would be Opeth.
Is that
in
right?
fact, the reason the band was called Nopathy is because we always made a joke internally, an inside joke, that we were no Opeth. So we were no Opeth, but we were kind of no Opethy.
I like it.
Nopathy. That's where that name came from.
Little homage. huh?
Yeah, so I mean, I might have to show up if he's got you guys playing some Opeth. I might have to show up now.
The Shaw's Jam's a lot of fun, specifically for that reason. If I could call that out and give them a little credit, it's like 50% of the songs are off list, and 50% of the songs are heavy.
Yeah.
So it's like the heavy jammers jam. So they're playing, thrash metal, and they're playing a lot of really cool stuff. I played a Sepultura Refuse Resist there a couple weeks ago. That was a lot of fun.
So let's get back to where we were at then. How
Sure.
did you? So Knucklehead, was it covers or originals? What was
Covers.
it doing? Covers.
Covers,
So were
yeah.
you doing the Poison covers or were you doing heavier covers?
No, so we had gotten. I started listening when my sister was giving me tapes
Yep.
of the '80s stuff. So I
Yeah.
have a lot of respect for it. But I found myself in the '90s grunge.
90s grunge. Okay.
Yeah. And thrash. Kind of like that Metallica, Megadeth. I liked a lot
So
of that
you
stuff.
you were brought in by the mainstream thrash and then dug a little deeper for like the Sepulturas and
Exactly.
and stuff like that.
Exactly.
So give me your top 5 thrash bands that you would not think mainstream wise. Give me your top 5 that aren't the top 5. Testing your depth here.
that is you're going to go deeper than I probably can
Man,
go.
give me 3.
There's this great band that I heard from Minnesota called Avalanche. I really like their music. Somebody shared their stuff with me, and I
Thank you.
thought it really should be up there with the rest of the great.
Oh, thanks, man. And Sepultura. That's not
Gosh,
in the
yeah,
top 4.
Sepultura, Testament is another favorite of mine.
Love Testament.
Gosh, I listen to a lot of Metallica, and I know that's already up there in the top. But
You're fine where you're at. The reason I bring it to you for me is like, I know in our conversation we talked about Avalanche and playing covers and how deep we went. I mean, we played stuff by a band called Atrophy, which is out of Texas, and they were way farther down the list, but they were so good. Sepultura, great. Exodus, Overkill, things like that, phenomenal.
yeah,
But when you get down to the Zoetrope and the Atrophy, you're starting to hit the lower, but still amazing stuff. Out of Arizona is where they're from, not Texas, but Arizona's also got Flotsam and Jetsam, things like that. So
I know that band too.
yeah. That's just the thrash for me. It's funny though, because you talk about how you came in to grunge was your thing, and thrash was your thing.
And groove metal probably. is
Yeah,
another
and
one that I
with
sit
me,
in, so.
I came out of thrash, and then in '90 I moved out to Seattle and was flooded by grunge,
Yeah.
and I hated it so much because I'm a thrash kid thrown into the grunge pool.
Huh.
And now, 25 years later, it was okay. But it's also the reason I never joined Wally in Wicked Garden, which was grunge. I hated grunge. Loved it. Alice in Chains was good, but I was a little jealous of them because they were getting signed and I wasn't. And then I had to move back to Minnesota. So Knucklehead's doing grunge stuff. Did you play some thrash stuff in that too, or just grunge stuff?
We did. We were not a band that was a band very long. So
Okay.
we played some Rage Against the Machine. I don't think we got really into any thrash. I think we tried to play Master of Puppets, but couldn't really pull it off at that stage in our
technical.
bandmanship.
That
So
was technical.
yeah,
Around this time, I'm assuming you went to your very first concert.
I did. Yeah.
Who was your first concert?
First concert that I went to was actually White Zombie opened for Pantera.
Nice.
And that
in
was-
Jacksonville, Florida.
Yeah.
What kind of venue was it?
It was a stadium venue. It was large.
Pantera was playing like a full-on arena stadium thing with White Zombie. So this is 94, 95?
It had to be 95, 96 probably, somewhere around
Okay,
there. So
okay.
I graduated high school in 97, so yeah, probably 95, 96, something like that.
Okay. What do you remember most from your first concert?
Maybe not my first concert. Maybe I'll tell you about my second concert. So my second concert was White Zombie again. First concert, we did the right thing. We're a bunch of young metalheads. We got floor tickets. And for whatever reason, we decided to go with a group of girls that we were into. And the second one, so we decided we were going to get seats.
Okay.
I did a lot of LSD when I was in high school. And I had
All right.
dropped a couple of hits of acid, and I decided I needed to be on the floor. So I ran and jumped off the balcony. I actually landed on the barrier that's supposed to separate the floor from the kind of the walking area on the outside, and almost killed myself basically, and then just got picked up by the security guards and thrown out. So I made it about 3 songs into the White Zombie concert, and then I was sitting outside listening to it for the rest of the concert. So obviously nobody in my party was that happy with me doing that. So
Were they sitting outside with you, or did
well,
they
one of
watch you sit?
one of my great friends to this day, Bert, who's also like in all the heavy stuff and was part of Mcleod. He went out with me. Everybody else kind of stayed in for the concert. So.
Everyone else like, is he all right? All right, we'll see him.
He's
later.
not dead. Fuck him. Yeah.
We'll see him after the show.
Kind of earned this.
Oh my! Now,
I think the light is changing us. Look at that. It's singing
now
along with
we're
us.
red and red.
Yeah, singing along with us.
Cool.
It likes our concert here.
So after your first concert, Knucklehead, short-lived band. What was next for you then?
I joined the military.
So
So-
from 16, no secondary band, went military at 18, right after high school then?
Yeah, so I was still playing, jamming with friends and stuff like that, but there was never anything serious or a band that I was seriously in. My parents had bought me a drum set when they figured out that I wasn't going to stop beating on stuff around this time in my life. And so I was practicing a lot on my own, learning chops and doing different things in the garage. But yeah, I didn't really actually join a band again until I was in the military. So
Okay.
I joined 17 and a half, went to whatever they call the prep training or whatever, did like a half year in that. Then right at 18 I was shipped off to basic training. Obviously couldn't do anything in basic training, couldn't do anything in AIT. My first duty station was Korea. And so in Korea they had a USO facility or whatever that had like a jam room inside of it. And it was really strangely, I started as a soldier. A lot of times you have a lot of extra money and nothing to spend it on because they feed you, they
Everything's
house you.
provided, yeah.
Everything's provided for you. So you're literally getting like $500, and I would go spend 400 of it on CDs at the PX or whatever. And I started getting into jazz, and I met one of my roommates was actually a horn player named Sanborn. And Sanborn played horn, and he would bring his trumpet, and we would try to jam together with drums and trumpet, which did not work very well. But we tried for a while to play that. So that was kind of my musical experience in Korea. And then I got stationed in Germany. It was my next duty station. And I actually met some other guys who were kind of into the same music that I was. And my roommate ended up being a guy named Ben Jett, who wrote his own music. And so this is the first band that I was in where we were writing our own stuff. And we also did a lot of covers as well. But yeah,
Did you ever play out as a
we
military band?
we played a lot in like our community. We got to play off base a couple of times. I mean, the Germans didn't really care about us that much. You know what I mean? We weren't a famous band or anything. But yeah.
So give me a little bit on that. Like, I mean, in the movies, military, it's like you're on their dime 24/7. How does that work for you to be able to have a band and play gigs but still be a military officer or a military individual?
Yeah, it's
I mean, was it
it's
like a
not
9 to
it's
5
not quite
military?
it's not quite as intense, as the movies make it out to be. Movies build interest based on conflict, right? And so you're always in the middle of. I mean, if I was in Iraq and we're in the middle of a war, I'm not playing drums, right? I'm basically
Yeah.
putting on my helmet.
You're
and
on
going
mission,
out.
man.
But even then, even if you're, and I did go to Iraq and Afghanistan a couple times. Even then, they have like USO facilities so that when you have downtime, you can go and do stuff.
Do
And
you have
a lot of
downtime
times,
every day, or I mean, are you like a 9 to 5, 10 to 2
yeah.
kind of thing?
So that's the thing. When you're in a military war zone and you're in the middle of a conflict, there's not a lot of off time. But when
Gotcha.
you're not, there's actually a shit ton of off time. Actually, we had in Germany, I would say it felt like once a month we had a 3-day or 4-day weekend.
Oh, wow.
And the beauty of being a strapping young lad, very fit in the middle of Germany, around that time of my life, you could just hop on a train and you could go travel to a foreign country in 5 hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you only need one passport to do so. So there's a lot of cool stuff with that. But then, there was a lot of free time for me and Ben and our bass player Terry just to get down. We actually had a room in the basement of our building that we commandeered without asking for permission. Got in trouble eventually for that, but we just went down there. We'd make music and we had a great time. We'd write, and then we'd take our gear out into the middle of like the foyer area, also in the basement, and soldiers from all over the base would just come over and party with us, and we just played and made music. But that was I only have a few regrets in life, but two of my regrets are actually band related. One of them is this band here. We actually played in a battle of the bands in our area. We won, and we moved up to the next level. We won, and we were supposed to go to the Europe-wide battle of the bands. It's all military-related bands, like either spouses or people that are actually in the military. We were supposed to go to the next level, but I was supposed to get off of active duty, and I went ahead and took that and went to Arizona, went to college instead of sticking around. I wish it's like, it would have been a couple of extra months for me to sign on. I could have seen if we would have gone that far, but I didn't.
What was the name of that band?
I don't remember. I'm gonna have to send it to you. I don't remember the name of the band.
I was gonna say we could Google that one. Let's see.
We actually do have some music out
You
from
won a
that
couple
band
of competitions. You might be out there somewhere, man.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. So you come back to, you said Arizona to go to college?
I did, yeah.
Okay. And you went to college for?
I went to college. I double majored in network engineering and video production.
Hence the reason we have this beautiful studio to interview in today.
Yeah.
Thank you for that. Cool. So when did you get back into music stateside? When did that happen for you?
So the funny thing is that when I moved to Arizona, Terry and Ben eventually got out of the military. They both moved to Arizona and moved in with me. And so we literally started the same band.
You got the band back together.
Started the same band. And I was also, at that point in time, I had a couple of cameras and I'd go film a bunch of promos for bands. So I was getting pretty well connected with the local community and stuff like that. So we didn't play much. There was a lot of different dynamics now that we're out of the military living together. And I actually was still in the National Guard, so I still had a commitment on that side. Plus I was going to college full time. Plus I was working full time. So I was really fucking busy.
Yeah.
And I owned the house, and just dynamics with being in the band, Ben not paying his bills and not helping, and it's just like
band broke up, huh?
Yeah, we're just like, okay, there was just too much drama in us being together all the time that it created that we didn't really do much at that stage.
Yeah.
So
how long before you broke your band up, man?
We probably weren't very far in. And then I got deployed. So Terry and I were still together because Terry was a much better roommate. Ben was not a great roommate at the time. Ben, if you're watching this, you're a great person now, but he knows. He's already...
That's like what we talked about. Like, I want to get together and do some band things, the beginning of a band, the end of a band. But I tell you what, man, there's not a lot of people that want to talk about the end of their band.
Yeah.
those are deep wounds forever when your band ends. Okay, so you got deployed, but when did you become a musician again, full time? When did that happen? How far away was that? Was that another 10 years? 15 years?
No, I mean, I definitely took a couple of years off. When I lived in Arizona and that band kind of broke up, and I still had a drum set in my living room, and then I ended up getting deployed. When I got deployed, I actually gave that drum set to Terry, my bass player, and he actually stayed in my house and rented it from me for a couple of years while I was deployed.
Okay.
when I got deployed, so my deployment, my final deployment in the military was in 2004, and I got sent to the country of Qatar in the Middle East. And I actually ended up getting out of the military and becoming a contractor, and then actually starting my first business when I lived in the Middle East. Met my wife over there, brought her back, we got married, and we were both musicians. And so basically, while I was a soldier on the base in Qatar, this guy named Billy McDuffie, who had a lot of clout on the base, got me. I was the only soldier of like over 800 soldiers that got to go off the base on a regular basis, because every Friday I would play blues in the afternoon with Billy McDuffie's band. And that's actually how I ended up meeting my wife as well, because she was in the house band. She was a Filipino band playing in the house band, and her band would play after our band played every night on Friday. So I get to stick around and watch, and eventually said, this chick's for me.
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
So I got into the blues there, and then I played with another band called United Rhythm for a little bit. They had me as like kind of a sub drummer or whatever. And it was like a funk, oldies, top 40 kind of band. It was a lot of fun. And then I started a band with some other friends of mine called Richard Cranium. And that was kind of the band. We played all alternative pop punk. It was kind of like me getting back into my roots, and we nailed it in that band. We had so much fun.
Yeah.
It wasn't too long of a period, right? It was a couple of years maybe of me just kind of like being pissed off and not wanting to be a part of that, just saying, okay, now I'm in a new space, meeting new people, I've got new opportunities.
Right.
Bought a drum set on eBay. And
In Qatar?
yeah, I bought it. I had it shipped from the U.S. through the PO box, or what do they call it? I forget what they call it, APO box. And it came, and they broke it, like it cracked. I had a hairline crack in my kick drum. Drum sounded immaculate and perfect, but I got the whole fucking drum set for free because they cracked it. And so I had the nicest drum kit out of anybody in Qatar, because I bought it from the U.S. and brought it over. I had this nice Tama, red finished kit or whatever. Came with cymbals and everything, and that was pretty cool.
Yeah. So you and the wife meet there, and when did you guys decide you wanted to do music together? Because you're doing that now.
That honestly, I would tiptoe a little bit here, but my wife and I have tried to do a lot of things together.
Okay.
Like a lot of couples, I think. And what happens is two people, you start to change a little bit as the years go on, right? And you're anyways, we tried to be, she was a part of my company for a little bit. The first company I started, couldn't make it work. Got her out of the company, we separated ways in that thing. We were never in a band together in Qatar, but she was in a band there, and her band was one of the most popular Filipino bands in the local market. So we were doing our own thing musically, but completely separate from each other. When we first moved back to civilization, I call it, in 2013, which was when we came to Minnesota.
Okay.
Maybe 2015, her uncle came to live with us, and her uncle was a bass player that actually played in her band in Qatar.
Oh, wow. Cool.
So also a Filipino guy, Uncle Joe. Still love him. He's a great dude. He moved to San Diego a couple years ago. But Joe and Kay, my wife, and I decided to start this band called The Hits and the Misses, way back in the day. And so that was, again, us trying to put the band thing together. But it honestly wasn't about dynamics at that point. It was just we were trying to play. Our gimmick at that point in time was we wanted to have songs from the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s. We wanted to basically be like a jukebox. So we needed to play with tracks, and I didn't know how to do it quite properly yet. My timing probably wasn't perfect, at that point in time to play with a click. So we tried to do it before we really knew what we were doing. And so that band really didn't last that long. Okay. Then we put together our own open jam. We called it the Jamioke, where you could either jam or sing karaoke. And we did that for a couple of years as that band. But then we kind of just put it on the shelf.
That was all in Minnesota?
All in Minnesota.
Okay.
Yeah, years ago. We used to live in Albertville, so it was kind of like on that major west side of town. So if you didn't live over there, you probably didn't know about it. But
Where would you play over there?
Say again?
Where would you play?
So there wasn't that many places to play. We play at the Nordic. We were actually part of the Nordic from the day that shortly after they opened their doors. We brought the Jamioke over there. And, know Zach and those folks from the very early days.
So let me ask you this question too, because this has always intrigued me. So you're South Florida, then you're North Florida, then you're Arizona, then you're Minnesota. How does that happen? How did you decide Arizona when you were coming back from the military? The first time.
Yeah, funny story. I took out a map and closed my eyes, and literally wherever my finger landed, I picked that.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that the same thing you did for Minnesota?
No, Minnesota's got a little bit more of a tie to it. So,
Okay.
My whole family is from South Florida, but my dad's sister, so my aunt, had married a guy from Minnesota.
Okay.
So dad's sister was a nurse. Grandma, who we all love, got older, moved up towards the nurse. So slowly the whole family started to gravitate up towards
okay.
where the grandparents were. And so when I was coming home in the military, I used to come home to Florida, to Jacksonville every time, and then suddenly I was not coming to Florida anymore. I was going up to Minnesota to visit my parents in Albertville. So that's how we got tied in with Albertville.
Okay.
And then, yeah, we lived in the Middle East. Like I said, we lived there for 10 years. And so when I was coming home, there was no reason for me often to go to Florida anymore. I was always going to Minnesota. So we got to know Minnesota over the years from many visits.
Okay. Did you only come during the summertime?
No. I think we experienced a little bit of winter, but we didn't.
So you knew what you were.
We didn't experience real winter until 2013 when we moved here. And honestly, my wife, maybe in the nicest way possible, hated me for the first couple of years we were here. My wife's from the Philippines.
Yeah.
We lived in Qatar. Qatar is one of the hottest places in the world.
Yeah.
140 degrees in the summertime is not unheard of. And we moved to a place where you could get negative 40 in the freaking wintertime. And 2013, since we've lived here, has been the worst winter yet.
Yeah.
Right? I remember going and I started my company shortly after I moved here, my first company here. And I remember going and looking for a CPA, and I was out driving in the middle of this freaking really cold winter, and some dude had gotten stuck on the side of the road. So me trying to be, Mr. Chivalrous, I thought I was going to get out and help. Well, Florida boy doesn't understand how the cold works, And man, like the three of us that were helping him literally had to, like, two of us sit in the car while one person goes out and does a little bit, and we had to switch out and take shifts because it was just so cold.
Yeah. I was, me and my wife, we watch random reality shows all the time, and we came across Alone, Arctic Circle on Netflix recently.
Wow.
And we're watching these people out in the cold in the Arctic Circle. We're talking up Alaska, but a little further. And it's like, temperature, 6 degrees. And I'm like,
right.
Like I'd go out there in shorts.
Exactly, right.
And then eventually it got to like 20 below, and I'm like, okay, now we're talking. But I've dealt with all those things. I'm like, come on, give me. And these people are like, oh my God, it's cold. I'm like, yeah, you're from Kentucky. And now you're going, okay, I get it. So yes, Minnesota is a little cold. So you come here, 2015 is when you really relocate here, right?
2013.
2013.
Yeah.
And when you start focusing on music is also 2013, or is that 2015?
2015. So, and there's some story behind that too. So when I lived in Qatar, we were heavy into film production.
Yeah.
And we did actually like major projects over there, like very big commercials, very big short films, feature films with, anything that came to the market. I became known as kind of the guy people wanted to work with. So my reputation stayed there even when we came back. And in 2013, I actually traveled back for most of the year. 2014, I traveled back. 2015, I lived in Dubai for 9 months. So again, my wife hated me for the first several years because not only we have 4 kids total. Not only did I go back to where it was warm, I left her here in the cold, taking care of 4 kids.
Oh my God!
No friends, no driver's license yet at the time. So it was looking in retrospect. I mean, she agreed to this whole plan in the beginning, right? But we can all agree to something and realize it wasn't a good plan.
Agreeing out of love is one thing, but when reality hits, you start to resent something.
When that cold weather hits, right? Yeah.
Oh, well, I'm sorry, but I'm glad you guys are still together. Okay, so then let me ask you this. This is something I ask every guest too.
Sure.
When you start really getting solid into music, and music is your thing, and it might be a little different for you because you came up doing covers and it was more fun, more like a hobby, and that's great, and you're still doing that. But when you started to maybe think seriously about doing this as a hobby, who were some of the local bands and heroes you looked up to say, I want to get my band to that level next? Who were some of those?
It's funny that you mention that because I'm probably getting to that phase in my life now. I'm 47, and one of the things that I have realized now, meeting some musicians and interviewing some musicians and talking to people at some of the open jams and seeing the level of seriousness some of these guys. What's his name? The bass player that was in Metallica.
Sam Van Moore.
Sam. So Sam and I have talked a couple times about having him as a guest on my podcast. We just got into conversations. And
Amazing human being.
Amazing.
I've known him for 35
But when
years.
we got to talking about his work ethic with practice, and the dude practices at least an hour a day every day, and then on weekends sometimes 7 or 8 hours. And I'm like, I have never been that serious in my life. But I forgive myself on one hand because I know what I have been serious with and the skills that I have built, right? But I also can see why some musicians that I look up to in this market are just so damn good,
Well,
right? They really put the time in.
Sam Van Moore spent time, many, many, many years, in a band called Grace Point. Now, Grace Point was Minnesota's own Dream Theater.
Oh, wow.
So the level that you're seeing, or when he's talking about that, it took that to be that bass player in that band.
Right.
Grace Point, Google it, amazing. They opened for Avalanche back in '93. They moved up from Marshall, Minnesota. All of them moved up here. Marshall is down by the South Dakota border, a bit over there. But they moved up here and found us, and we're like, we'd like to open for you. They played one show, and we're like, you're going to open for us again, and again, and again, and again. And Sam, again, been buddy with him for 35 plus years. I've asked him to come in and do a couple recording projects with me. Great guy. You definitely should get him on the show. But so he was one of them where you met him and it was like, oh wow, okay. So who else do you think?
Yeah, I mean, so one of my first friends that I met out at a lot of the open jams, Kevin Sundberg. I love the guy's work ethic. I listened to some of his early work that he's recorded, and he's doing blast beats and stuff before I even knew what they were.
Yeah.
Just a very cool dude, and he's been the guy that's kind of gone. He's kind of been my partner to kind of introduce me to a lot of people, and maybe in a roundabout way is my inspiration for starting my podcast. Because I started meeting a lot of people, and I just realized I want to meet a lot more people and I get to know a lot more people. So Kevin's a big inspiration for me. Aaron Cole, I think the dude is a beast on the drums, and I just love watching. I love watching him play in anything that he's doing because he. Such precision and such loyalty to the way it was actually recorded, even to the fact that he has different drum sets to represent what he's playing on stage, Iron Maiden or Metallica or whatever it might be that he's doing. He was in the Opeth cover the other day. Yeah, it was just man. It was such a freaking complicated and long song, and there was no flaws. It's like you can't find flaws.
Opeth is an amazing group. But the thing about Opeth that you have to accept or deny, they have two completely different personalities.
Yeah.
They are a black metal band.
Yeah.
And they are an orchestral, just gothic, beautiful band.
Yeah.
Like I can play an album for my wife and she'll go, this is amazing. And then I go, okay, check out this album by them. And within 13 seconds, what the heck is that? It's like total, complete different.
They do have a huge dynamic range. For
Aaron
sure.
Cole, the first time I met Aaron, I was filling in for Mad Mike's Funhouse, his actual band that he does. And we were playing jerseys. And I had met Aaron. This is when I first met him. And he was playing drums that night. And I remember halfway through the first set going, I want to jam with this guy. I had an original band, Apathy, with Tony, and we were going through drummer things, and I was like, ooh, maybe I could talk to him. And then I found out he was in 17 different bands. I'm like, no, I ain't got time for that.
Yeah.
But he is an amazing guy. So those are the kind of bands that you're looking up to, or the people you're looking up to.
Well, I want to mention one more, and
Yeah.
that is Tony Williams.
Okay.
So I met Tony through these jams, and I went out one night to watch the... when I need to think of something, I can never think of something. The zombie group, the Rob Zombie.
Devil's Rejects.
Yeah, Devil's Rejects. So we actually went to go watch the Devil's Rejects. It just happened that Tony was opening up for it. And he's doing all of the, like, this was at Pioneer Place.
On 5th, up in St. Cloud.
Up in St. Cloud. Yep. And so I brought my kids along because they love White Zombie as well, or Rob Zombie or whatever. It was a lot of fun. It was a family event or whatever. What's that?
Your first two concerts.
Exactly.
All right, yeah.
Exactly. But seeing Tony just so masterfully weave together so many different songs, and he did it with his own, because he's basically playing with a pedal and looping, but it was my music. You know what I mean? Because I've seen a lot of looper guys out there, and they're playing usually, like Matchbox 20 style stuff, which is not something I can appreciate.
He'll play that for you too.
Well, it's something I can appreciate, but it's not something that I want to go listen to. And Tony was playing a bunch of stuff that I really grew up with and loved, and just the way he weaved it together and just everything he was doing. Because I knew the dude was a great musician, but I'd only seen him maybe 2 or 3 times at Ziggy's at this point. Didn't really know him as an individual. But being able to see the level of work that he had put into what he was doing was pretty impressive.
He's always been that kind of guy. I mean, I've known him since he was 16 years old, sneaking into Ryan's, watching the metal bands, trying to get his Lord of All Desire band into gigs there. But the looping stuff, I remember the catalyst or the origin of all that was we were in this band called Until the End Together. And it was an acoustic band. It was me, him, Christopher Valentino, all playing acoustic and playing all these metal songs, Amorphous and Perfect Circle and just all these very ethereal songs acoustically. Then I joined 3 other bands and I wasn't there all the time. Then Chris got married and started the family, wasn't there all the time. Tony started writing his own original music, and then when it went back to him playing out, he couldn't, I don't know if he necessarily reached out to try and get the 3 of us to do it, but he was like, well, I'll just start looping. And I was there during the birth of that, and him getting his first looping pedal and really playing around with it down to practice. And I'm like, man.
How long ago is this?
This is probably 15 to 16 years ago.
Damn, I didn't even know they had looping pedals back then.
I mean, what I'm saying is like, that's when the
first
acoustic
edition
stuff was. And it was the simple one.
Yeah.
It was simple.
That's cool.
But once he realized he could do without us and just go out and do, he started doing. And near the end of Nopathy, he was gigging so much that he'd come into Nopathy practices and go, I can't sing tonight. Because I've just done 9 to 12 hours of singing all week. And I need to do 9 to 12 hours of singing this week. If we need it, I'll do it, but I'd rather not. So Tony Williams is amazing. We still check in. He came and watched some football with me, watched the Vikings lose. Came over for the Super Bowl, so we were all good, having a good time. So those are your 3 big influences that you kind of local, not necessarily heroes, but people you're like, okay, this is where we're at.
It's really about. I mean, I can tell when I'm out there. There's so many more, right? But I can tell the people that really have put the time in.
Yeah.
And my conversation with Sam was the one that just kind of opened up with me, like why, why I am where I am versus where they are, and I'm okay where I am, what I mean. But I know there's a lot more work that I need to put in if I want to be that good, and I want to be that good.
Yeah.
I really do. I'm a lot more serious about drumming now than I've ever been in my life.
Yeah. How much do you drum a week, do you think, right now?
I probably do a half hour 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. So you actually still sit behind your kid alone and work on things.
Yeah.
That if you ever lose that, that's when it starts to fade.
Is that right?
But if you still want to go to your instrument and just have your time with your instrument, you're growing.
And that's the thing is that up until recently, I don't think I've ever really put that type of time in.
I've met so many people now later on in life where we don't practice. Hollywood Boulevard never practiced. Learn it on your own and show up at a show, and if it sounds good, we'll play it. And there came a time for me where I only picked up my bass if I had to learn a song or play a song. Now that I've retired, I've played my bass more than I've played in the last 3 years. On my own, at home, running scales, playing stuff that wasn't in the set list. I play more now than I did when I played live. Not only that, but I've actually grabbed my 6-string and actually played guitar more than I probably played in the last 10 years. So retirement for me has been very good. Even though I'm still only in the first month of it, I'm getting people left and right asking me. I'm like, no, give me some time, but right now I'm good. I'm still finding myself as a musician again, versus just the guy that's playing those 46 songs for you for money because you said I should be here. I'm doing things for me again. So as long as you're still doing
Yeah.
something for you, that's keep that in there, man. Keep
Well,
that.
there's a analogous thing that happens with video production. I mean, I've been a photographer, videographer for so many years, and I do it professionally. You know what I mean? I do it like literally every day. I'm usually turning a camera on, and then you get friends that are like, "Hey, come on out and bring your camera." I'm like, "Dude, I mean, as much as I like you,
Yeah.
I do that so much that it's no longer fun
Yeah.
for me. It's a job, but at the same, I still enjoy it, but I don't enjoy it like." I would if I was just going like shooting if I wrote my own feature script and I'm like shooting something for myself,
Yeah.
where I'm really kind of putting my own energy into something that's creative for me or pushing my limits, And yeah, I've been serious on that side of my life with that. I've never been that serious with drumming, I think, until recently. I'm really trying to get a lot better at my craft than I used to be. And I'm living my 15-year-old dream. Now I have a full double bass kit with a rack system and way too many cymbals, you know what I mean? And, that's the drum set I always wanted to be able to afford but couldn't. Now I can afford it, so why not, right?
So that's hits and the misses.
Yes.
That's what you have with your wife right
That's
now.
right. Yep.
That is your main project musically.
Yep.
Give me some stories. Do you have any stories of that band yet? Anything out there that you rolled into a club and it was crazy this or crazy that? Anything out there yet for that?
No, I'd say, we've played probably 10 shows now, and we're still trying to figure out where we fit in the place. We play covers with some originals, and we play heavier stuff than most people want to hear at a cover show.
So with originals, that means you guys get together and actually practice and jam?
Yeah. We practice every week.
Nice.
As a band, we practice every week. Pretty religiously, unless we just played a show and we don't have another show for a while, we might give ourselves 2 weeks off.
And when you write, what are you writing? Grunge?
No, it's metal.
Metal?
Yeah.
All right, okay.
Yeah.
All right. Your wife can scream, I've heard.
My wife is my muse. She is about the most versatile human being when it comes to performing, and she's not. I don't think if you've seen her perform.
Yep, 2 times.
You did, yeah. Okay,
2 times. I saw her
because
once.
she's
at
10
Ziggy's
foot. She's 10 foot tall, even though she's only 5'4".
Well, she's
right?
on the
She's got a
stage,
big
so I couldn't
personality.
tell. I couldn't tell. She was on stage.
But she also will. We play Rage Against the Machine, and she raps. We play My Own Summer by the Deftones, and she screams. You know what I mean? We play Cowboys from Hell, and she does. She tries to mimic Phil Anselmo, and it's quite entertaining for me. And I love that now because my wife also has gone through, like we talked about, as human beings and as a couple, we go through reinventing ourselves and growing, right? And we have to. If you're not growing, you're dying, right? So she has gotten in her head a couple times in life that she didn't necessarily want to be in a band and sing anymore. But for me, it's one of the I regard her highly in many ways, but it's one of the things that really caught my eye in the beginning. And to me, it's something that I really love about her, and I know she is such a tremendous talent.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? She has honed her craft, I would say, a lot more than I have honed my craft on drums. And she is good enough that she needs to be out there, in my opinion, doing something with somebody, as long as she feels like it's necessary, as long as she can.
The thing you have to always understand and respect, though, there are 2 types of musicians, and I've said this before. There are musicians that they're musicians in their soul from day one to day done.
Mm.
And then there's others that grab music because it gives them something.
Mm.
And as they grow, once they start getting the things elsewhere,
Mm.
the need to be a musician kind of quells.
Mm.
I've met a bunch of people that I used to think were musicians deep in their soul.
Mm.
And eventually they got married, had families, had jobs. Music wasn't time for music anymore.
Mm.
I got married. I've had children. I've had jobs. I can't not play music. So there is this different thing. So your wife, who's gone through these different seasons, she is a great vocalist, but that may not be her heart and soul.
I
But
think
you
you're right.
fell in love with her as a vocalist.
Yeah.
You see this
It's an important
beautiful
thing for
woman
me.
as your muse.
Mm-hmm.
So there may come that time where you guys are going to butt heads on that one. But again, hits and misses. I love the idea. I love the name. Where is the future for that?
So we're still writing music. We've got a couple more songs that we're writing. So I mean, we don't really ever expect ourselves to transition to only being an original band. So the Hits and the Misses has changed itself, right? We had this earlier band that was this whole 50s, 60s, 70s rock or whatever, and that kind of fell apart. And now we've kind of gone this direction of like taking heavier tunes that we want to play, but making them palatable by adding in some heavier versions of songs that are fun.
You've got to shrink it down.
Yeah.
Until the end, Tony, Chris, me, when we did get a drummer, we were playing stuff from Slipknot to Morrison. I mean, it was the gambit was the fishnet was so big that we would play one show here and have this 50s, 60s, 70s thing and vibe for this club. Then we play another show over here and would have the Pantera and the Slipknot and the heavier stuff over there. The thing that hurts is when you start to build a fan base and they show up to your show and it's not even close to the show they saw over there. So you have to bring it down a little. So when you even first said the 50s, 60s, 70s, I'm like, too big. Too big in that.
Yeah. You know? No, we're really kind of dead set on who we are now, and we're not even, you know, we're a loud, fun, heavy band. And this is what we're going to do. And we might put in Lady Gaga, but we're gonna metal the shit out of it for you. So it's still a song that ladies want to hear and dance to, but it's our version that's fun, that sounds like we want it to. And we don't expect that everybody's going to like it, but we do expect that we're going to find our tribe of people who really like that. Because that's the type of band that I would like to go see.
Yeah.
You know, a band that's having a good time, a band that's playing songs a little bit on the heavier side. And yeah, that's so we're getting better at our marketing piece. We're playing a couple more shows. I also like to. I'm kind of an organizer, leader, kind of do things sort of person, and so I'm actually building some of our own shows, like little mini festival ideas that I have throughout the year.
Have you shot a full promo video with all of your bells and whistles?
In here?
Just in general. Promo video for the Hits and the Misses.
No, I don't. We have a promo video for the Hits and the Misses, but I'm not really sure what you mean by all the bells and the whistles.
Well, you could make a movie if you wanted to. You've got the cameras, you've got the lights,
sure.
You've got the audio abilities. You could shoot a music video of your band and make it probably better than 90% of the promotional videos that are out there today for bands. So I was just saying, like you had said earlier too, like the last thing I want to do is bring my work home with me. I was the same way forever. Like in the 90s and the 2000s, I did not call people because my job was in a call center. I was customer service and I answered phones all day. The last thing I wanted to do was talk to you at the end of the day after I just talked to a million people. When texting came out, the world was saved. I was like, I'll tell you that. No, don't call me. Here, I'll send you another one. Don't call me. So I could kind of see where you maybe wouldn't want to do that.
Yeah.
But you also have all the things to shoot one hell of a promotional video for your band.
Well, we've got a great promo video
you do?
Already, yeah.
Okay.
But yeah, absolutely. I mean, every show I typically bring 5 or 6 cameras. Not every show. I film every show with at least one camera, but sometimes I'll go all out. Like we played the red carpet, and at that one, no, I think that one I put up 3 cameras. When we played the Ziggy's Open Gen, that's actually where I had multiple cameras, and I even hired some of my friends who'd shoot for me sometimes to come out and film. And we've got a great promo video out of it. But
so are you super ADHD in that piece? Because Keith, my lead singer from Anthem that I was in, also loved shooting video. But he would show up 2 hours before the show and spend an hour and 45 minutes setting up for video and audio. And then it's 15 minutes before showtime, and he would lose his frickin' mind because he wasn't ready to go on stage. Do you ever get that? Where you're so amped up on all this stuff, and now you have to drum, and you're like,
sometimes, yeah. I certainly could, because I'm also the band leader. I also own all the PA. and we have a whole in-ear rig that I've built. And so I'm always, as a drummer, you're always there first anyways, but now I'm there first to do the drums. Thankfully, my whole band is really hands-on and very cool, and we've actually come up with some systems now, and everybody's kind of trained in an area. And so, like the two brothers, they take care of the in-ear rig and start doing all the split snake cabling. You know, my wife and our bass player, they handle all the power distribution, and I'm setting up the drums actually with, you know, Nathan's wife. So she comes up and helps me. She's my drum tech. So we've got like a whole thing going on now that's really nice.
That's cool.
But it can still be quite stressful.
Right.
Especially if I'm like putting on the show too, like I'm organizing all the bands, and you know, if there's, and I have to basically, I usually share my kit, so everybody's playing on my, so I'm there 2-3 hours before everybody, and then there for at least an hour and a half afterwards, breaking everything down.
I used to be that person.
It could be stressful.
I used to be that person, and then in the last 10 to 12 years, I'm the bass player. I'll show up. I'll set up my rig. I'll play the show. I'll tear down my rig.
Yeah.
Have a nice night. I'm your bass player. There was a time where I put so much effort in. In Avalanche, I was the main guy. I was out there. I was working the P.O. box. I was sending into fanzines. I was doing interviews when needed. I was doing all that. All I asked from my band is to show up for practice and show up for the gigs. You know, and it backfired on some of them, because we would go down to the bar after practice, and people would come up to me. The whole band's right there. Dude, I love your band. Can I buy you a drink? Yeah.
Sure.
And they're like, I'm in a damn band. But they would never be that. So I had that time too, where I was that center. In TNT, when I first formed my first tribute band back in the day, I was that guy. Just show up for practice, get to the show, I'll take care of everything else. But I'll tell you what, in the last 15 years, it's like, no, I want to be the guy that just shows up for the show, does his work, and goes home. And some bands are fine with that. It took them a minute. I remember Anthem's like, are you going to help with any of this stuff? I'm like, I didn't ask you to help me with my rig. My rig's here. I'm set up. I'm tuned. I'm here. Let's do it. Okay, here, I'll help with that. But it, you know, and maybe it's too selfish. Maybe that's the lead singer issue in me, where, like, remember, the lead singer never does anything. They just show up. They got a microphone and sing. That was me for the first 10 years. And then I played bass, and I just brought my bass. So, good luck with being the leader in your band and taking it from here to there. I wish you nothing but best with that.
Appreciate that.
Hopefully within the next 5 years, you're one of the top bands in the Twin Cities. How often do you intend to play?
We purposefully only aim to play about once a month.
Once a month?
Yeah.
Man, I might not have retired if I only played once a month.
Yeah. Well, so my wife and I have both, you know, we talked a little bit about my band history. My wife has also been in gigging bands, and we've played, you know, many nights a week, sometimes twice on a weekend. I haven't been in a band that played 3 times on a weekend. She has, and it could just be too much. You know, sometimes you're driving 2 hours to get to the gig, and so that was another thing. Is, you know, we've been able to set boundaries in this band, and all of us are kind of like willing to help. We're all on the same wavelength in terms of what we want with the band. We're all on the same wavelength that we've got other shit going on in life. We don't want to play more often than we need to. So yeah,
preach.
If something super came up, I mean, you know, and we're already got a gig booked on March 7th, and something super came up, and they're just like, hey, you got to do this. Maybe we would consider it. You know what I mean? But there has to be a really fun factor to it, or a really good pay factor to it, or both would be, you know, something that we might say yes to.
Good venue.
Yeah.
It gets to a point where the little shows just don't gleam anymore.
Yeah.
Give me a big stage, big lights, big PA, big crowd. I'd love to play that.
Yep.
Give me the corner bar on an 8-foot stage in front of 10 people. Even though you're paying me, I'd still rather stay home watching movies.
Yeah.
It's just, there's a different energy there
For sure.
in some of that, so I could see that. Well, sir, I thank you so much for spending some time with me.
Yeah.
It was really nice to get to know where you came from, where you started out at. Lastly, what do you want to do in the next 2 years musically, or just professionally, or family-wise? What do you see in the next 2 years for you?
I run a couple companies, so that is the lifeblood of everything else that I do. It gives us the baseline to kind of have fun in different directions. But, so we have some very strategic company goals and some target numbers that we want to hit. At the end of the year, if we're able to hit our sales number, we're going to visit my daughter who now lives in Bali. Our whole family's going to fly over there. So that's a big trip we have in mind. As far as the band, we want to kind of continue to play shows. I want to put on my own shows because I think it's better for our style of band to bring in people that actually want to see what we're doing and then fill that in with other bands like that. I like doing that sort of thing. So I expect to be doing more of that as we go along and playing less of those kind of corner bar, sort of scenarios. The business is kind of the biggest thing, right? I spend most of my time in the business trying to make sure that that's stable and growing and doing the right things. And when that is doing the right thing, then the band is probably the next big priority of, what can we do? But that's also why we kind of just taper it and put a shelf on. We don't want to play more than once a month because I don't want this to become more important because it can't be, what I mean? Even though I really love doing it. And as a drummer, as we talked about some of those local heroes out there and the work ethic that I see, I mean, I would love to be able to sit in for Aaron Cole. You know what I mean? I'd love to be able to have a band that he plays with confident enough with my skill set that they would say, hey, can you come sit in because Aaron's got something going on, he can't be available tonight. And that's a big lift from where I am right now. And I don't think I suck as a drummer, but I know where I am, you know what I mean, and I know what I am not.
Believe me,
and
as a bass player, I'm the same way.
I know what I want to get to. I would love to be able to get to that level,
All right, man. Well, I thank you again for your time. Will McCloud from the Minnesota Music Note, also from the podcast crew. Thanks for your time, man.
Thanks, brother. Appreciate it.
All right, cool.